wouldn't know unless you told us. Go ahead, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Charlie. I am full-time support staff in the Arts and Sciences Division office.
Awesome.
So a lot of you know that I have this beautiful narwhal tattoo on my leg. A lot of you don't know, I don't know anything about narwhals. I just really like the aesthetic of that. That's why I got it.
I like it. There you go. See? Well done. Thank you, Charlie. Who else? Go ahead and tell us your name.
I'm Evelyn. I'm full-time support science and mathematics.
Okay.
My favorite food is made out of my favorite animal.
I need more information.
Okay. I'd like to introduce you to Josie. She's a vegan.
Evelyn, what is the animal?
Pig.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Everybody's can sigh or anything. Go on.
Need more information.
My favorite food is BLT sandwich.
Oh, that definitely is interesting. Good job, Evelyn. Thank you for sharing. Who else? Somebody else have their hand up over here? Yeah, go ahead in the back. Your name?
I'm Samantha Hall, and I work in the costume shop, and I was team captain of my high school robotics team.
Well done. Good job. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for sharing. How about somebody over here? Somebody over here. Or against the wall. Anybody? Something you want to share with us? Go ahead. Tell us your name too.
I'm Bob Bertholz. I'm the technical director for Performing Arts.
Yeah.
And I used to have Florence Henderson's cell phone number.
Oh.
That might not mean anything to some of you.
Right.
I'm probably showing my age a little bit here.
Yes. Wow.
I used to be able to call Florence whenever, there was an event that I used to produce in Indianapolis just before the Indy 500, and she, among other celebrities, would always come back home to Indiana before the race for an event, and she was part of this event on an annual basis where she would sing. So she would work with us, which was the production company that put on the event, to make sure that she had the proper music and the proper lighting, proper wardrobe, things like that. And
Very cool.
so between Florence Henderson and Jim Neighbors, we got pretty good pals.
And I'm assuming since then you've been blocked from her.
Well, she's deceased. And so
I wasn't gonna go there.
And it's not
She
because I
is.
was calling her.
She's not around.
It's not quite the same, but I have Dawn's number.
I do too.
I got it on the bathroom wall. So just kidding. You too.
I probably wrote it.
Good one, good one. Well, it's always funny to me, thank you for sharing, each of you. It's always funny to me when I ask my students to share something about them that is interesting or original about them, because everybody is convinced they don't have an interesting story. Like, oh, there's nothing interesting about me, and I will say, well, tell me a little bit about your life. And seriously, it's always something like, I was born in Bosnia, I was like sickly and almost didn't make it. And then 3 years later, I was speaking fluent English and Bosnian. And I'm like, I'm gonna stop you right there. No idea that is an interesting fact about them. So essentially when I ask the students this and what I asked you just now is not just something about you that we didn't know, but what it is specifically that makes you and all of us unique. Unique. So, what makes you unique? Why is this sometimes such a difficult question for us to answer? Right? I'm sure you had to think for a minute before you shared with the person next to you. We become so familiar with our own experiences and our own narratives, and we're so used to the skills and abilities that we have that we become casual and even at times flat out oblivious to our very own uniqueness. In fact, our uniqueness becomes such a natural part of who we are and what we do that we don't even realize that not everyone also has that same skill. We literally don't realize that so-and-so can't also do this. I personally had no idea that I was good at speaking in front of a crowd until I realized literally a few years ago that most people are not. It's oftentimes by default that we realize, what our gifts are. And when I realized that, I was like, really? Just give me the microphone. We don't even realize it. That being said, when it comes to what you do specifically as support staff, you may not even realize your uniqueness, much less the impact of the work that you do here at LCC. So on behalf of the administration and faculty in the Arts and Sciences Division, we want to say that we see you and the contributions you make to every day here at LCC, and we want to celebrate the uniqueness that is each of you and what you bring to your work each day. Distinct, individual, special, eccentric, and quirky are all words that we use synonymously with uniqueness. I especially am a fan of when someone describes someone else as quirky, because they're not just saying this person is unique. If someone's quirky, they're basically a weirdo, right? That's essentially what we're saying. I like it. She's quirky, right? So I recently started reading a new book, and the main character is at the hospital for her first chemotherapy appointment. She's nervous about what to expect, but then is able to shift the focus away from that fear when she becomes preoccupied with the nurse assisting her that day, who introduced herself and says, "Hi, I'll be your nurse today. My name is Unique." What makes you unique? Well, according to the Oxford Languages Dictionary, to be unique is to be the only one of its kind, unlike anything else. When I was in college, a friend and I got hot chocolate out of a vending machine, which should have been the first sign that it wasn't going to be good, right? The front of that vending machine, I remember very specifically, said, "Delicious and different." Right? So we put our money in the machine. That tells you how long ago it was that I was in college. And a little cup fell out. You guys, some of you know what I'm talking about. It began to fill up with hot liquid. And once it filled up, my friend grabbed the cup and saw what it appeared to have been filled with murky swamp water. You could see-ish through it, which is not what you look for in a good hot chocolate. My friend looked at the cup. She looked at me. And she looked at the sign on the vending machine and said, "Well, it's definitely different." I remember that story not because it was good, and not because even in 1995 we thought machine hot chocolate was going to be good, but it was memorable. And the vividness of this and its memory still more than 25 years later is because that situation was unique. What makes you unique? As human beings, we are unique in relation to other creatures. Because, as the blog Bold and Bloom states, we are empathetic, we are compassionate, and we have an array of emotions. It's different than a lot of other creatures. Do you know we have an array of emotions? Sometimes society is happy or sad, and everything else is not real. But what makes us unique individually? Well, science tells us that our DNA literally makes us unique, right? But it's also our life experiences and their effects on us, our family structures, or how we celebrate holidays, and certainly how we connect with other people that makes us uniquely us. What makes you unique? In the classes I teach, students are required to complete a group project. Most of the time when I tell them that, probably like you, the collective response is, right? I was just talking about this with Andrea the other day and the concept of working in group projects. I asked them then, what is it about working in a group project that makes you hate it? And the collective response that I got from everyone is related to the idea that people are not often reliable. And the worst part is we don't know yet that they're not reliable. I then spend the entire duration of the semester when they're working in that project reminding them not to be the reason this project sucks for your roommates. I also break the news to them that group projects sadly don't end when you finish school. But in fact, life is a group project. And for the exact same reasons that we don't like classroom group projects, is how we also don't like life as a group project. driving in traffic, COVID, how we park, who waits in line. One big group project, because as I like to say, I know I'm doing my part. I'm pretty sure there are a few people who aren't. In our case, collectively here at LCC, our collective commitment to the mission of preparing our students for whatever is next for them is one big group project. And each of us, more specifically, each of you as support staff, play a crucial role in the success of that group project. In the 2001 remake of the film, Ocean's 11, most people would say that the film is about a group of ex-cons trying to rip off a bunch of casinos. Though that is pretty much in summary the plot of the film, I would argue that it's so much more than that. Let me reframe it for you and tell you what the film is actually about. So Danny Ocean is trying to win back his ex-wife by pulling off a $160 million casino heist. I mean, who hasn't? He knows, what's that?
Does that work?
We'll get to that. No spoilers over there. Anyway, he's in Las Vegas and he knows that he can't do this alone. So he calls up a group of his ex-con buddies to help him out. Now he calls on these people not just because he knows they have the moral fluidity to help out with a project like this, but more importantly, he chooses them on purpose because he knows what they each bring to the table. One is a weapons expert, one is a disguise master, one is a technology systems genius. Each of them brings a different and unique expertise to their casino heist group project. What makes you unique? It's easy for all of us at times to think that our jobs in the work we do is just this or just that. But we should never think of anything we give our time and passions to as just anything. In fact, let me tell you how we see what you bring to the LCC group project in the work that you do as a support staff. You're not just quick at responding to an email. You're an Outlook expert. You're not just able to navigate the LCC My Transfer webpage like you wrote it. You're an LCC webmaster. And you're not just able to get the copy machine unjammed and back up and running. Damn it, you're a copy machine genius. No, you really are. Now, all of that may seem like to you, as I indicated, no big deal, it's just what I do. But those are all uniquely your skills, and whether you realize it or not, whether someone notices it or not, or at the very least, whether it is thoughtlessly just assumed that you will take care of it, we all know your skills are needed for our LCC group project to be successful. Honestly, it also helps if we're ever considering our own casino heist, and so we know who's good at what, right? I'm gonna be honest and say that any heist I pull off is gonna include Amy Park. So you're welcome. So at our BCA meeting a few weeks ago, Kent was leading it, and when he asked Ashley Taylor to help him with the technology, to connect with those who are attending virtually, he said, some days I don't even know if I would be able to get into my office without Ashley. And Ashley, with zero hesitation and zero amusement in her voice, said, "You can't, Kent." That's what I'm talking about. Open this door. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. To be clear, also before I go on, Ashley Taylor will also be part of any future heists. Right? I love that Ashley knows what she's good at and is not ashamed about it. I love that. Owning your gifts and being proud of those things, no matter how small you think they are, is something that is underappreciated in our society. Never underestimate the value of what you bring to the table. Our society has trained us to be so humble, to make sure that we're not so focused on ourselves that even simply responding to a compliment with thank you feels somehow egotistic. I challenge you to simply accept the gift of a compliment when someone gives it to you, then just say thank you and walk away. I'm learning this myself. So despite my cooking skills really only being praised by my dog, she loves my cooking, I do watch a lot of cooking competition shows. One thing I have noticed in most of those shows is that they always say, you don't have to make an exceptionally fancy dish. You can make something very simple and very basic. But if you do, make it the best version of that dish that anyone has ever tasted. And that's how many of you approach your jobs, by taking what seem like simple tasks and doing them better and more reliably than anyone else. What makes you unique? I thought about the uniqueness of the role of the support staff, and I put together a top 10 list of things that make support staff unique at LCC. Here we go. Number 10, you literally are the only one who knows where the secret stash of leftover LCC party favors are from an event in 2008. Number 9, you have dozens of takeout menus in your desk. Number 8, you remember when everyone's birthday is, who's out that day, and why so-and-so you know won't be answering his emails that day. Number 7, only you know the numeric measurements of what actually constitutes a large, a medium, a small, and an extra small binder clip. I have no idea. Number 6, you know the exact day the office will run out of French vanilla creamer and always have a backup ready. Number 5, you know how to make salespeople regret calling you. Number 4, truly impressive. You're in 3 WebEx meetings at once and not one person notices. Number 3, you always know a guy who can get it for you, do it for you, or make it happen. Number 2, you confidently and without hesitation always have it or can find it somewhere in your desk. And number 1, you consistently are the only people who remember that Grand and Capitol Avenues are no longer one-way streets. Thank you for that. I'll leave you with this. When I was in the last semester of 8th grade, the last required class of that semester that we had to take was home economics. And our final unit was sewing. Our final project was specifically to sew and make a miniature teddy bear exactly like the one our teacher showed us. Since I was and continue to be notoriously not good at crafts, I was anxious about this project because I wanted to do it well. I worked very slowly, very carefully, asking for help every step of the way. I was okay with finishing last because I knew I had put the time into it and it was going to be great. When I finally finished, days after my classmates, and I was ready to put the stuffing in the teddy bear, there was hardly any stuffing left in the supply closet. So I asked my teacher about it and she said, well, it's the end of the semester and the school year. I don't have money in my budget anymore. So after all the care and precision I took to make that tiny bear, once it was all said and done, I did have a bear that looked exactly like my teacher's, only with a peg leg. Recently, while visiting my parents, I found that teddy bear and was reminded of this story all over again as my parents laughed hysterically at seeing it. But in preparing for today, I thought about that bear and realized that though it was born out of frustration and meticulous attention, it was and is the only one of its peg leg kind. In other words, a simple reframe and suddenly I have something truly unique. Thank you again for all you do and for the way you so casually make everybody else's day a little bit better. You are seen, you are needed, and you are appreciated. And most importantly, remember, you are unique, just like everyone else. Thank you.